Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the. Yeah, we're here at the Lightbox panel. Welcome everybody. I'm your host with the most, all the way from the West Coast. I'm Moish. I'm a concept artist and illustrator, and I am with my squad here of talented and beautiful people. And did everybody introduce themselves? Yeah, I remember, Dylan, you said that for the portfolio, people kind of introduce themselves already, or should they
You
introduce
can read.
themselves?
You can read it all. I think it'll save some time.
Okay, okay. All right. So I'm just gonna. Oh, so you want me to read off the
Yeah.
bio? All right. So Dylan is a freelance illustrator and concept artist from LA, and he does illustrations, concepts, and storyboards for movie posters and ad campaigns for films, TV shows for clients like Sony, Disney, DreamWorks, Warner Brothers, Netflix, HBO, and a hell of a lot more. Dylan also does character designs and concept art for indie games. You guys all know Dylan for his awesome figure drawings. Follow him on Instagram if you don't. And he is also the co-founder of Resolution Art on this Discord. He graduated from Cal State Long Beach, and we also went to Santa Monica College together, and that was
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun. Um, and we're joined in with his beautiful lady Chelsea Blecka. She she is a published illustrator and viz dev artist in LA, and she is currently working as a viz dev artist at DreamWorks Animation on upcoming feature The Bad Guys, releasing April 2022. I'm still waiting on that new Shrek movie, Chelsea.
Oh
Yes.
no.
Someday.
Uh, she has previously worked with Taiko Studios, Wild Canary Animation, and Macmillan Publishing. She is known for her paintings and strong use of color and light. She makes some really beautiful scenic designs, and she's graduated from Cal State Long Beach with a BFA in illustration. She is also the co-founder of Resolution Art Studio. And next up, we have Camille Rodriguez. Rodriguez, I'm saying that right. Viz dev artist and motion designer in Los Angeles, California. She is currently working as a visual development artist at Sony Pictures Animation. She's previously worked as a concept artist and background painter for Buck, Netflix Animation, and created matte paintings for Disney theme parks. She has a strong strength in color and environment design. She has a BFA from Academy of Art University and a MFA from Parsons School of Design. And we are also joined by Holly Chiu. Hopefully, I'm saying that right, the last name. She is a viz dev artist and background painter based in Los Angeles, California. Currently studying at Art Center. This is Art Center, right? Am I getting this right? ACCD.
Yeah.
Cool, cool. And she is currently freelancing, making awesome paintings and works. And she has a very strong sense of color and figure drawing. And hold on, let me check something real quick. The Alex. Oh man,
Alex is not in here. I
Alex
think
is
Alex
not
is
here.
late. Yeah.
Alex had
Okay,
something
okay.
come up, but he
Oh,
should be coming in later. So we'll see.
We'll see. We can skip him for now.
Yeah.
all right, all right. Next up we have Night Zhang. She is a concept artist and freelance illustrator from LA. Previous clients include Ubisoft, Valve, and Tencent. Her focus on character design and she has a strong sense of character design and viz dev for video games. And she works solely to support her cat. It's a sweet separate animal.
As you can see, my profile picture, here's Peach. I'm a lovely cat mom. This is why I work.
Your cat's name is Peach.
Yes, her name's Peach.
Oh wow, that is very cute.
Thank you.
Next up we have Yihao Zhu. He is a concept artist and illustrator. and he is currently taking the Resolution Art mentorships from 2020. He has graduated from Art Center in 2021 in the summer, and currently working in freelance at Impetus Animation as an illustrator. Clients include Riot and Tencent. And let me make sure that I have everybody. Okay, I think that's everybody here.
And yourself.
And myself. Oh, okay. So, like I said, I'm a concept artist and illustrator from LA. I've worked in a 3D design studio a few years ago, and now I work in advertising for an agency in New York, and I'm a lecturer at Otis College of Design. And I'm with the homies here. I also went to Santa Monica College with Dylan, and it was a great time. And that's pretty much it for me. Okay.
We've got, real quick, we've got Alex in here. He just joined.
Alex is raising his hand.
I invited him to speak, so I raised his hand for him.
Oh, I see.
Okay, I see him. All right, so Alex is here.
He can become he's a speaker. He should be able to join.
Yeah,
He's got to do it on his end, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alex, you got the Infinity Gauntlet. You can join us with the power, with the snap. You can come in if you want. Okay, so for everybody that's joined us right now, we're going to be hosting Q&As, and we're just going to be hanging out, and we're going to be answering all of your questions or anything that you guys have. So if you guys want, go ahead and put your questions up on the LBX chat. This is also being streamed on Dylan's Twitch channel, and will be uploaded there. And so as we go,
If you don't have any question, we're just going to talk about the Matrix the whole time.
in any case, so while we wait for some questions, I wanted to ask everybody on this panel, what are some of your inspirations when it comes to your art? Like, what is it from your childhood that's inspired you to do the things that you do now? And what are your plans for the future going forward? Is there anybody?
Oh, that's a big one.
That's a big one. Let me shorten that.
No,
Let's
I
start
like
with
it
the
though.
childhood. Start with the childhood. What were your biggest inspirations growing up? And has that like shaped you in your art career?
Man,
What
that's
order
tough.
should we go in?
Doesn't matter. If you have an answer, go for it. I'm still thinking.
Still thinking. I'll start with me if people can't. People need time to process their thoughts.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
be shy. If you're shy, Moise is just going to call you out.
So yeah, my biggest inspirations were always like video games. And oddly enough, like I think Kung Fu Panda was a big deal. Like the first time I saw a Kung Fu Panda documentary and see how everything was made, that really blew my mind into thinking like, I had no idea that people made a career out of this. And the process of sound design, of creating the characters and drawing and going through all that development was a thing. And when I was in middle school, the first time I saw that, like, that's when I knew that there was an industry for this and you can make a career. But mostly growing up, a lot of the cartoons that I watched, like Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles, was a big thing. And mostly video games. A lot of it was video games. And the thing that I liked the most about these types of media was the stories that they tell and how it inspired me to create the characters that I do. I remember the first experiences that I've had playing like Shadow of the Colossus or like Legend of Zelda, and how it made me feel at the end of it. It gave me this sense of like, I guess you're just sad because you just went on this journey. And that to me was always super cool to me because here you have it's like media that doesn't really exist. It doesn't exist in the real world, but it can have an impact on so many people and influence them and ideas. So, yeah, that's just me.
Awesome.
Anybody else?
I can say what inspired me. It's kind of short.
Jill?
I grew up I was born here in San Diego, or in San Diego, California, and then I moved out to Springfield, Missouri when I was about 2 years old, and so a lot of my childhood was out in like the Midwest. So I was really inspired just by like being outside a lot, and I took a liking to, like a lot of other people, like the Disney movies, and then at the same time I loved reading. Reading and writing was kind of like just as much of a love as like art for me. So the storytelling aspect of everything really like took hold. Like at a young age, I used to write a lot. So I think that has kind of carried me through. Like everything that I create, I want to like evoke a mood or a story, because it always comes back to that for me.
Cool. Before we get to the next person to talk, we have some questions. If you guys don't mind, I'll put the questions, this topic on hold, and I'll start asking these questions to everybody. The first question is from Tony. He says, as an artist who has been a background artist and item artist for some smaller indie games, who wants to get into larger studios, would you have any advice for how to approach this other than just to dive in and apply for openings? So I think the question that you're asking is, instead of just applying, like what advice would people have, what would we have to just, other than just applying, like taking on applications? I think that's the question. If anybody wants to answer that.
Alex?
I can go. I'm not a background painter, but just when it comes to getting in art jobs in general, you're the only thing that they can see about you is the portfolio, right? So other than just applying and getting your work in front of as many people as possible, you should be trying to improve the work in the portfolio, right? So if you are not applying, you should constantly be working on a project or some practices or something, or just something that you're interested in, something that you enjoy doing. Just keep working on that, right? And that'll make your portfolio better and better, and it'll raise your chance of getting hired each time you send that portfolio out.
And I think too, like, don't just like make backgrounds to make backgrounds. Like, you should be saying something with it, like bring something new to the table, something that will make you stand out, because I mean, there's so many people doing kind of the same things that you should be doing something that kind of shows that you're unique and what you can bring to the table.
The thing with applying to places too, like I had this conversation earlier with someone, and this applies to more than just like background and props, but if you are looking to get into a very specific studio or a very specific type of studio that have they have a classic genre that they typically do, it's smart to do projects that range in genre, and particularly projects that are geared towards the company's like specific feel or kind of like visual style, because it shows them that not only do you know how to work in their sandbox, you also have range. So beyond just doing projects and making things for your portfolio, being smart about how can you maximize and be efficient about what kinds of work you're putting in your portfolio. So not only do they potentially work for multiple studios, but also increase your chances of getting hired at that maybe perhaps one studio you really want to work for, or that one genre you really want to do. Because fantasy and things to do with like pretty fictional landscapes are really different from like hardcore sci-fi. So I'd also recommend gearing your portfolio to certain specific genres.
I also think that's pretty interesting, because like you want to like have a balance too, because like when it's like okay, you're trying to create the, something that's geared toward the studio. I think you can also get lost into the, like, oh, I'm just doing what they're doing, so then you're not coming through as well, like what Chelsea was saying. So there's like a balance too. And but like I totally agree with what they're both saying. And in terms of just like applying places too, like on another note, there's always more that you can do than you can just do by than just applying to places. You can like get to know some people, see if you can make connections with recruiters or other artists on LinkedIn, reach out to people on Instagram. I know that a lot of artists are like more than willing to talk. Maybe not everybody, but playing a bit of that game too to make yourself known is also kind of. I think it only plays well for your for making yourself known. You know?
That
Sweet,
was
okay.
Alex Henderson, everybody.
Oh yeah, we never
Alex.
introduced Alex. Alex has worked with Riot really recently, and yeah, tell us briefly, real quick, about yourself, Alex.
Oh, hi, I'm Alex. Yeah, I go to Art Center College of Design, and right at the start of quarantine, I got my first freelance jobs for DreamWorks TV, and I did around 8 months of that for 2 different shows, and then I this year was doing some freelance for a Canadian studio, doing just biz dev work and background work called Spin Master Entertainment. That was really fun, and then I was able to do an illustration internship with Riot Games, and that was also really cool. So a bunch of different experiences, and I'm finishing up my last term at Art Center College of Design illustration program. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, and he likes paint.
I like
Okay, so
We have somebody raising their hand over there. Can you see that?
somebody, hold on, I'm
You
going through.
click the hand
Oh yeah,
button.
yeah.
Are we
yeah.
are we doing the hand raising or are we doing the chat?
Ooh.
We'll switch it up. If there's
Switch
somebody
it
in
up?
the mic.
Invite to speak. Let's do this thing. All right, Lance, you're in the hot spot. Did I do it? Sent you the invite. Give me a second. Lance, I just sent you
Maybe it was an
invite to
accident.
speak. Maybe it was an accident. Let me check the chat. Okay.
How do we
Here?
make him
Okay, it's not
speak?
here. What was that?
How do you give Lance permission to speak? He's raising his hand.
Yeah, I hit the button, and it's requesting. I have to send him
Ah.
the invite.
Oh,
there he is.
there you go. He's ready.
Lance.
There they are.
Lance.
Hello.
Lance.
Hi, Lance.
Hello.
So first of all, thank you very much, everybody, for hosting this. I happened to wander in here by accident yesterday, and I feel very lucky and grateful that I happened to come in when it was like really busy and you guys are having events and stuff. I went to the portfolio review earlier today, and everything that was said was incredibly insightful. So first of all, I'm blown away. Thank you, everybody. I have a question that's kind of more specific. So I'm making a concept art / viz dev portfolio, and there's a project that I want to develop for it. It's an AU / redesign of several Pokemon characters and locations. It's a running personal project. It means a lot to me. I've been kicking it around for about 6 years now, and I just find myself gravitating towards it lately. Should I try to develop it for my portfolio, or is that not advisable by virtue of being, well, fundamentally bounded by being a Pokemon redesign? I have seen other redesigns in other people's portfolios, for example, Fairy Tales or like the Phantom of the Opera, but I'm also worried there might be a stigma about Pokemon being for kids or my application being more niche and limited. Also, I have questions about how much of the original setting should I lean on, including the Pokemon, which I'm not redesigning, or should I just leave those out because I'm not going to be touching those? And in general, I'm wondering if somebody's portfolio should be more original things instead of fan art. Is there even a rule, or because the portfolios that we saw earlier today were mostly original stuff, as far as I understood. But yeah.
I got an answer. I think you should go for it. And I know like fan art is looked down upon, and they're not wrong. If you're just doing straight fan art, I would advise against that. But if you're doing a redesign, that's perfect. Like if it comes to the jobs that you would be getting, that's most of the jobs anyway. Everything that we're working on now is a prequel or a remake or something, or so a redesign is totally acceptable, because you at least be bringing your own ideas into this, and in terms of how much you should put into it, like whatever you think is cool, keep going for it, because you might also want to just stray away from being Pokemon, right? Because if just doing a straight copy of Pokemon is looked down upon, like go in the other direction, right? Like what can you bring to the table that makes it different?
Gotcha. It's specifically a redesign of one of the villainous teams. Like I'm flipping some characters around and like changing up their design and their motive and trying to portray that. But I have not thought about like trying to port it to a more original setting. So I will give that some consideration. It's just kind of hard because of the structure of Pokemon,
Yeah.
the villain teams and all the monsters and so on. That's very interesting. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wait. Can
Go ahead, Alex.
on this too? Yeah, I definitely think that doing what's fun for you is like top priority, like or one of the top priorities, because people can tell when you're having fun and when you're not, right? So if this project is going to be fun for you, then I definitely think that like it's a thing to do, even if it is like fan art or something. People, like, you know what I'm saying? Because it's a redesign. People redesign Peter Pan and do just fine, right? Something that's very well recognized, right?
That's a good point, yeah.
But also, I do think that there is this other aspect that's like, okay, like you don't want to be too attached to it because like you've been spending like 6 years on this, so you don't want to get stuck, right? So I'd say just be careful with that too, because I do think that you can also like, like when you have like a baby project or something like that, I found myself in the past where I've worked on something that I really cared about, and worked on for like a long time. I just was getting stuck, and I wasn't, being able to explore every facet that I could be. And so I would just say be wary of that, not to shy away. But I also do think that there is another option of creating your own project with like, the feeling that this kind of world gives you, So like, okay, how does Pokemon like inspire you? And how can you create your own thing with that too? So that's also another thing that you could like think about doing in the future. But yeah, I totally think you can go for it. Like, have fun.
Yeah, if you know Q Fang on the Overwatch team, I remember talking to someone who was on the recruitment team for him, and they literally said that he caught their eye because of a Link of Legends of Zelda, like a Link redesign that he did. It was a fan art project that he posted just on his art station, and they found him because the people who were like on the team like Legend of Zelda. So fan art projects are totally cool and in fact really great for social media purposes. Portfolio wise, sometimes it gets a little sticky with other IPs, but again, and I echo everyone here, passion projects are fantastic, especially when you have the time to do them as a student or as someone looking for a job. Because if you are actively making work that you are passionate about making, people will hire you to do those jobs. It's not so much trying to cater to what a company is looking for, it's about telling them that this is what you are good at doing. And more often now, people are interested in hiring people who are experts in their field, who are passionate about what they're doing, because money can't make up for a dispassionate person doing something just for money. And your greatest asset as an artist is bringing your own interests and your own unique taste to a team, and that can very well be informed by the stuff you do on your own time for your own interests. So I'd say, definitely try and see how many different ways you can take this project to really, take it away from just being a Pokemon redesign, but kind of a reimagining of the potential of Pokemon in a completely different light.
I posted Q Fang's work in the chat, so
Look at this.
it's good stuff.
Nice. Yeah, Knight, what you said at the end, like, reimagining the possibilities of Pokemon. I was when you said that, I felt very seen in that moment because that's definitely what I've been orbiting around. It's definitely a bit more like a mature, like psychological approach to some of the messages. You know, I feel like Pokemon, like children's games, right? And they throw all kinds of crazy things. They don't really consider the implications. So then, what I was working on, why I was so attached to it, was because I was just considering some of those implications and like relating them kind of to like, I guess like things that people go through in the real world, trying to figure themselves out and stuff. Yeah, I guess I was surprised to hear that it's something, and surprised and relieved to hear that something that's looked for and that bolsters a portfolio. Because for a while, I was like, I've been worried that I should focus on fundamentals more, and not so much about that, that woo-woo in the pie in the sky or expressing yourself goal. But it's good to be reminded that that's still very important, and as you said, perhaps the most important thing.
Cool. Thank you for the question, Lance.
Thank you for your answers. It's greatly appreciated.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna go on to the next question. All right, I am gonna try and get through these as much as I can, but I am gonna prioritize some of the thumbs up ones. So go ahead and put a thumbs up on the questions you guys want me to read out. Oh, there was one right here. There was a good one. Actually, all of these are pretty good. Okay. Swift says, I'm curious how you guys go about balancing work and study efficiently on a weekly basis.
Oh no.
I can take this one if that's cool.
Yes.
Sure.
So work and a life balance, I feel it's healthier to have like maybe a hobby on the side that you do that's other than art. For me, I like to go on walks in the morning with my dog and just hike around places. So I think exercise is like definitely a healthy habit to keep, especially if you're an artist and just kind of, sitting at your desk and drawing all day. But in like in more of a short period of time, I do think that maybe taking a break every like 1 or 2 hours to like stretch your wrist and I don't know, eat a snack or something will definitely help. But I think in the long term, like having something other than art that you enjoy doing is definitely even going to help you with burnout faster, so that you don't burn out or that you have like a healthier habit in life.
I was gonna ask that question where like, what do you guys think about grinding till your eyes bleed, or is there a good way to have like a balance? There's different schools of thoughts, but
I think it really depends on your situation because like for me when I graduated college, I had to do that grind until like my eyes bled and it was because I needed a job like now, and so the grind really did work for me, and it's not something that I would recommend for everybody, and my mental health definitely suffered for it, but if you're able to do it in a healthier way, I think that's better.
Yeah, I think there's a cult mentality for people that get really deep into like art grind culture that I don't really support, which is why I never recommend people get into it. But there's obviously benefits to doing it, and there's a reason why you have to go into that mode to survive. So I think being self-aware about what you're putting yourself through and what you can reasonably achieve, and just trying to come up with ways to be efficient about it is a lot better than just subscribing to whatever method some other person said is the best like grind to become a part of. Because like I've seen students get super addicted to the idea of like, I'm gonna draw every day and that's gonna mean I'm gonna get better in like a month, which usually doesn't happen, because usually what happens is that they just make art to fulfill that quota as opposed to focusing on what they're actually trying to study. I think it can be pretty distracting, but it's good to keep people accountable for what they're trying to do. So I'm certainly in a certain school of thought where I don't think it's very helpful, but that doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't work.
I want to add, similar to what Chelsea said, I think it is important to consider your personal situation. Like when you're in school, you should be probably doing as much work as you can, but to the extent where it's healthy for you. But on top of that, I think what helps me personally is I set certain goals. Like when I was building my portfolio to get my first job, I knew that I had a lot of work to do because I had to keep a day job just to support myself. And even through school, this was the same situation. But I knew that it wasn't going to be forever. So what I would do is I would invest in mentorships or personal instruction like that. There would be a set amount of time. Okay, for this amount of time, I'm just going to bust my butt. And then after that, I'll take a break. So, and also, line that up with your financial situation. Obviously, if you have to make rent and you have to hustle for that, just there's a lot of factors, but I wouldn't, buy into any trend of killing yourself just because you want to be in the club. Just think about what works for you.
All right, sweet. Thank you for the answers. And on to the next question by Dead Minto. Were you guys committed to an art path from the beginning, aka high school, or did you guys try out different fields and realize art was the path for you?
Oh boy. These questions are really personal.
I like it. We're getting into it.
You guys want to go?
Dylan?
Anybody?
Go, Dylan.
I mean, I was always into art personally, but it wasn't necessarily concept art or anything in the entertainment art field. Like, I was really into just drawing in general. I also really liked oil painting, and I got into graphic design for a while. I got into sculpting for a while. Like, I definitely did a lot of different things, and I mean, it's pros and cons, right? Like, I definitely wasted a lot of time. But in hindsight, like, all of those knowledge kind of accumulate, and they kind of, I feel like right now that helps me kind of doing the things I do now, is like having different kind of knowledge into the different fields made it maybe more effective at the job that I'm doing now today,
I think it's good to mention too, like your dad is an artist, your mom kind of like, and same with me,
funny?
like my mom's an artist.
I think my dad's in the chat somewhere. I see him.
Oh.
I think my dad's in here. Yeah. Yeah, my dad did, I mean, he went to school for art and became a photo retoucher, so I mean, he knew how to draw, but I wasn't really taught to draw, but he definitely encouraged me to draw a lot. So that definitely helped. But I definitely didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew that I liked drawing. But then, just like what Chelsea kind of talked about earlier, like at some point in my life, I had to kind of strap up and get serious because I was getting older and I had to pay the bills and all of that stuff. So, yeah.
I had a similar upbringing as Dylan. I was also interested at art in a young age, but I never considered it as a career, just because no one in my family are creatives, and so I thought being an artist would automatically kind of put you more in a low income situation. But then when I entered college, my first college, I was introduced to graphic design, and that's when I started learning the foundations, like figure drawing, still lifes, all those things. And I realized I really liked illustration, like actually pursuing it seriously. But I had also really loved literature and reading in general. So I was actually torn between either becoming an English teacher or just full on becoming an artist. And ultimately I chose artists because I think I do enjoy drawing a bit more, but going into art center and just interacting with people who are kind of pursuing the same career as me, I realized that there's a lot more opportunities in this field than I had perceived before. Like becoming a background painter or visual development artist. But I think that for me, it was ultimately the art community that really like helped me ground me to be who I am today, and just to help me be more confident in my career path that I'm choosing, or even just art in general. I think like the people you surround yourself with, even online, like on Discord, like on this Discord, or even others like Warrior Painters, I think just having a community who's pursuing a similar career to you will help ground you and like keep your self-confidence up more.
Oh shoot, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
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 Oh shoot. All right, sweet. Okay, so the next question we have is, where is this one? I just missed it. Okay, from Kat, what were you guys' first personal portfolio projects that helped you land your first freelance job? Why do you think it worked?
Good boy sushi.
Wait, what?
I have like an infamous project that has carried me from job to job. It didn't give me my first freelance job. It actually got me my first job in animation. It's called Good Boy Sushi, and you guys have probably seen it. It's been posted, like I've posted it everywhere. But it was a viz dev project that I did while I was doing editorial illustration, trying to get into animation. And it's about a Shiba sushi chef, and he inherits his family's restaurant. And so I designed like the interior of the restaurant and props and stuff. And I'd say that project carried me honestly to the job I have now at DreamWorks. So it carried me from Disney Junior to Taiko Studios to DreamWorks. And why do I think it worked, it says? I was really emulating the people that were already working. I was looking at mainly people that went to Art Center. I was looking at their portfolios and I was like, okay, what do I need to include in my portfolio? Because I didn't even know where to start. So I kind of like used that as like a starting point. And I just made sure that I did a project that I really liked. I didn't do it because I felt like, like it's what they wanted to see. I did it because it was what I wanted to see. And I think like my own personality and the things that I like to do came through it. And I think that that's why it's carried me so long, because it really does say like something about who I am. So I think that's important.
Sweet. We do have a guest who wants to ask questions over the mic. I'm inviting her to speak now. Just give me 1 minute.
I think you did it. They just have to hit accept. So if you got your hand raised, you just have to accept the request. There you go.
Kadejo? How do we say your name?
Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Hi.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay, thank you. First of all, thank you for the opportunity. I was wondering, like, how, like, an advice on how to network, because that's an advice I hear a lot from industry people, but how to go about it without being, like, too pushy or weird about it, or pushing anyone's boundaries, like, doing it in a healthy way.
Alex, you're good at this.
I'm good at it?
You are amazing at this.
Oh, really? I guess, honestly, I think it for me it kind of varies. It depends on what like you're doing, right? So if you're reaching out like to a recruiter, it's like kind of a different ball game, because then you have to kind of be professional and make sure you're not trying to be, you know, you're not too like informal, and you're not like saying too much. You just want to reach out, let them know that you're kind of there and that you're available. But when it comes to just interacting with other artists, I think it's, just getting to know them and not like being too pushy about anything, but just getting to know them for who they are, and like just making friends. You know what I mean? Because and I don't even really look at that as much as networking, but it does bring opportunities where it's like, okay, you get to know these really cool artists and talk to them. It's just for me, it's just like talking to people and getting to know them, and just being invested in people's lives and caring for them. And then you get to ask them stuff and get to learn from them. And that I've learned a lot from Dylan and Chelsea, even though I consider it more friendship. But I mean, a part of it is kind of a little bit of network, I guess. But yeah, if anybody else has anything to say, go for it.
I would just say
I
one
agree.
quick thing. Most of these people in here I know from the Resolution Discord. A couple of others I'm meeting through them, and this is probably going to come out wrong, but one of the best ways you can network with somebody that you admire is to pay them. Okay, It doesn't have to be like that straightforward, but like if you really look up to somebody and you really want the kind of job that they have, maybe they're offering a mentorship, maybe they're offering some class. You could, start a conversation that way if you want to learn from them. And then, that's how I have made a lot of big networking connections personally. But it wasn't with the outset of like, something maniacal. I just really enjoyed their work. And I wanted to pick their brain about it.
I think that's a great thing to note, that when you're networking, you got to think about like you're taking somebody's time, right? Like if you're wanting their time, then you got to give them something in return. So whether it would just be like being nice to them, helping them out with something, or like Camille saying, like paying them for the time, I think just try not to think of it like how it benefits you, but also just be careful of what it might mean to them. And especially like a lot of really big name artists, they get a lot of requests and stuff all the time, so be mindful of that. And like for me, I really hate when I get a message and they say, hey, can I ask you a question, instead of just asking me the question.
Yeah.
Right? Like think of the other person, like what is it like in their shoe, and think about what would make this easier for them.
Also, because a lot of us are like, I mean, if we have a lot of messages and then somebody's like, hey, can I ask you a question? Like, I personally don't have time to like be like right back.
Yeah, because now we gotta like, what's the question? And then you gotta wait, and then it's gotta be like a back and forth, instead of just like, let us know right away, and then we'll get to it when we have the time, Empathy, yeah, that's tough though. I know for a lot of, especially if you're like under this stress of, oh, I gotta get a job.
Yeah.
It's hard to think about the other person when you're in that state. When you're in that state.
Yeah, there are certain professionals that are a lot more like open to helping because they have like a bigger interest and therefore more energy to help. But there's definitely some people, me included, that there are only certain times that I'm like, I can emotionally and be available for other people, and the rest of the week I can't be. But like stuff like streams are great for popping in and supporting someone that you like, and being around for a lot of their content is a great way to get your name known. Like I met a lot of people through my streams, and because they come so often, I recognize their names, and when they ask me for help, I'm like, oh, it feels like I've known you for so long because you've been around, and like I see you in comments and stuff like that. So I've always found like actual networking really difficult because I don't like actually confronting people and talking to them, and it's made networking really hard for me. But online spaces, I think, have really opened that up to where you can kind of do it in a like maybe a little bit more of a passive way. and engaging in other people's like online content, whether that be, you know, supporting a project that they're doing, or, you know, writing nice things on like in the comments and going to their events and stuff. People do recognize that on an upper level. They do recognize when they see your name around and you ask questions and you're really engaged in that kind of stuff. For sure.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say about that, what Knight said is like, yeah, when you're in the mode of like really wanting to get a job, it's easy to just say, okay, I want to say everything that's on my mind in this one message and just send it off, and then it's like you're really not taking in, like Dylan was saying, you're really not taking into account their time. But it's like you can really build a connection by slowly, you know, really networking or building that rapport with someone. Really, not having really an expectation off of one interaction, I think will help too. It's like, okay, you know, it's like just check in this one time with this artist and not expect too much. And if it happens, then it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I think that really helps with just like, if you don't get a response, then you're not really let down or anything. Or if so you talk to somebody, but it's really short, they'll remember you next time. And you can check in, but don't bother them too much, you know? So it's like, yeah, it's that slow kind of rapport building, I think, is kind of important.
Right. Thank you, Kadejo. Did I say your name right?
Kadejo.
Kadejo. All right. Thank you, Kadejo.
Thank you too.
Yeah. Okay, we got another speaker coming up. Disconnect. Just press disconnect. Okay,
yeah.
he's out. All right. Okay, we have another person asking a question over the mic. I just sent them an invite. All right. Yikes. Yikes.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, I didn't think about the pronunciation, I just thought it sounded funny, so.
Full profile.
Thank you. So my question is kind of specific, I hope that's okay, and I hope that it applies to other people too, but the two career paths that I'm most interested in are kind of diametrically opposed. I'm interested in IT, and I'm interested in, I mean, I don't know what specific art, but art in general. And I don't know, it's just like with art it feels like there's so many variables and there's no formula for like how to succeed, so that's why I'm considering IT, because it's like that's a job that can never be automated and stuff like that. But art is really my passion, and I really, like, someday I want to work at Riot, which I know, like, that's kind of hard to come by, because they're, like, the best of the best, it feels like. But I just don't know how to tackle it. Like, should I major in IT and minor in art? I don't know what credentials I need. I'm all over the place.
I have an opinion about Plan Bs. Like, I don't know if it's unpopular opinion, but Dylan and I have talked about how usually we've found that when you have a backup plan, like if you don't get into art, then usually like the art won't work out necessarily, because you kind of have in the back of your mind constantly like, oh, well, if I don't get it, I can do this other thing. And for me personally, I never had a plan B. I was kind of more in the boat of being like, if I don't do art, I literally like will not do anything else. And that was kind of what like drove me to pursue what I wanted to do so much, like so passionately. So that being said though, I mean, it's really good to have something, you know, in your back pocket, which is one of the reasons that I did get just a college degree. But that's my opinion on having like kind of two things at the same time. So
yeah, I think going off what Chelsea said, it really, I guess it really depends how passionate you are about art and IT. For example, if you do choose IT, are you going to be happy in the long run? I think your future happiness, if you're able to financially support it, I think you should go with your passion, other than something, I guess, that's more orthodox. But again, it depends on your financial situation and how and how much you really need a job right away. Yeah, but for me, I think ultimately, doing something that you're happy with, obviously you're going to be happier in life. But yeah, it really does depend on your situation right now.
I also can't recommend getting into a very specific studio the reason why you would pick art over IT. I'd say, like, if it comes from a place of you want to do art, Riot's a place you'd love to do art at, but it's not the place you want to end at. That's a much better motivation for me personally, because jobs are jobs at the end of the day, and getting a job in art does fundamentally change your relationship with it. And if you don't enjoy doing art because you've always wanted to do it, you want to find a way to apply it, there is no other option. And in a way, I'm very similar to Chelsea in that I don't have other options. There was never another option for me. And so when things got bad, I was like, well, there's nothing I can do except just handle it and figure it out, because I have to. People that are motivated to do art because they have this one place that they want to be, or this one person they want to meet, it becomes difficult when things just don't end up working out that way, or you get there and you realize it's not all that you thought it was going to be, because they usually never are. And not in a bad way. It's just that work is work, as it always is. I'd say base it on that. Like, if you don't want your relationship with art to become in a way a product or a commodity in your like 9 to 5 day, then choose to have art as something you do for yourself and have it be a personal thing. If you have this other interest that you're also equally passionate about, that you know how to do, that you're confident in doing, is not a terrible idea. But I do think art requires you, if you want to do it, to be dedicated to it in a way, so that, by getting into it, you're not pigeonholing yourself into a potential situation where you're scared out of your mind and completely dissatisfied with the place you're at, just because, you got into art for a reason that wasn't for yourself, if that makes any sense.
I think that's really important. A point
Yeah,
about like
definitely.
setting a goal that's not something external, like getting a job at a specific studio or something, like, because anything can happen, right? Like a studio can shut down, and like, what if that was your life goal? But like, that's out of your control, and it's much better to set a goal that's more, like Matt is saying, like for yourself. What about working for Riot that you like? Why there specifically? Is it because the story? Is it because the experience of the game? And think about like, where else can you get that, and not just Riot, right? Or if you're getting into art because you want to tell a story, is there any other way to tell this story that's not visual? Or, right, like, ask yourself what about it specifically, and the more specific you can get, the better off you'll be. And then about like the juggling thing, this is a really pragmatic answer, but if you're trying to do two things, then you're splitting your time in half. So you're only putting 50% effort into each thing. So they're definitely going to suffer. If you have the time, like, why not, right? Like, if you want to do more things, go ahead. But if your time is limited, just remember that if you're choosing to do multiple things, then you're kind of spreading yourself thinner. So, like, my advice, if you really have to do multiple things, instead of doing 50-50, you might think about doing 100-100, which means you're going to have to cut into something else in your life, right? You're going to have to sacrifice some other things, which might not be possible. And, it's not healthy to not sleep and not talk to anybody or whatever, right? So be careful, and make sure that the goals that you're setting are something that is internal, because that'll last longer than a studio would or whatever.
Also, I do want to say, I think, like, before we get into the industry, like a lot of us are very like focused on a certain studio we want to end up at. Like for me, it was Pixar. I always wanted to work for Pixar, and once I actually started working, I realized it's not so much about the studio, and this is something that I think most people that are working now realize is like the studio doesn't mean as much as you think it does.
It's the people.
It's
the
the
day to day.
people.
It's
It's
the
the
thing that
team.
you're doing. It's the art in front of you. That's the thing that you're going to be dealing with the most.
And like I never had an interest. I'm at DreamWorks right now. I never had an interest in DreamWorks like at all. Like I wasn't a huge fan, and it's become like one of the best places I've ever worked, and I love it. So don't get your heart too set on a studio necessarily. It's like what Knight was saying, like it's more about the art, and it's more about what you love about it, and if you want to do it for,
That's
from
also
9 to
real.
5.
Like a single studio doesn't have space for everybody, right? There's definitely more people with the goal of working there than there are space, right? So realistically speaking, it's not going to happen. That doesn't mean it won't. Like it definitely can. I mean, like we got people in this room right now that works for Riot, right? Like it does happen, but you'll probably be working somewhere else doing exactly the same job probably, right? I know like Ehao applied to the internship, right? And like he didn't get it
At Riot.
at Riot, and then like he was one of the finalists, like got all the way to the end but didn't get hired because quarantine or whatever. But now he's doing work for Impetus, and they're freelancing and they're doing projects from Riot, so it can happen some other ways too.
Right. Yikes. Thank you so much for your
Thank you guys.
Yeah, that got dark
Thank
for
you.
a second. I don't know what happened there. I
Sorry.
was like really serious.
Yeah, quit on your studio. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a
Yikes.
good one.
You too. Okay. Let me just make sure I got. Okay, we have another speaker. Crayola. Just sent you an invite.
Hello.
Crayola.
Sorry.
What up, Crayola?
Hello. How is
Cool
everyone
name.
doing?
Doing
I
great,
have a
Sean.
pretty specific question too. So I was here earlier on the 5 p.m. portfolio review, and I heard that many of you guys here have been to Long Beach, and I'm actually trying to apply to Long Beach right now. So do you guys have any what's it called? Like any
Warning.
tips? Advices?
Any warnings?
Warnings?
Um,
Because I'm trying to transfer to the art department.
I mean, Dylan and I feel like we had very different college experiences, even though we went to the same school. Dylan was a transfer, and
I transferred over, so my experience is very different.
I went to Long Beach for 6 years, so I was there from like the age of like 19
Oh,
to
wow.
like 25. So I was there for a very long time. I absolutely loved it. I had the best experience there.
Cal State Long Beach, right? Just for
Cal State
everybody
Long
else
Beach,
in the
yeah,
room.
for anyone in here. But yeah, it was a blast being there, but I did graduate, and I didn't have, I mean, we kind of went over this, like I didn't graduate with the portfolio for the entertainment art industry at all. I graduated with an editorial art portfolio, which is exactly what that program is for. So they did do their job. We just weren't happy about it.
Well, we were trying to get into entertainment industry, right? And
Yeah.
the school only offered editorial illustration classes. There was one VizDev classes, which is like not enough, you know? So just know what you're getting into.
Yeah, I think you should know, have a direction, have a focus, know what you want to do. And if what you want to do is animation, as far as like...
Are you trying to get into
VizDev,
animation?
Yeah, what are you trying to get
Oh.
into?
Because I did not do much college planning when I was in high school.
Same.
But I
Me too.
know that there's a program called
Pre-productions. Yes.
Yes, that's offered in Long Beach, and I was looking into that. So definitely not animation for me, but I do want to get into pre-productions or visual development.
For animation industry. We don't mean animation like animating. We mean,
Okay.
are you trying to work for an animation studio doing visual development and pre-production?
I mean, my mind's pretty open for anything.
Yeah, I guess that's tough. Like, I didn't really know either what I was trying to get into.
I will say that if you, because you'd be going in as a freshman, right?
Yes.
Okay. I will say that as somebody that went through the entire program into BFA and everything, they do not give you enough foundation classes, and they don't give you honestly enough homework there to get you good at the foundation. So, and this is something, honestly, like you should also read. We wrote to Lydia in the Art Discussions channel in our Discord. She's having issues with having to like get her portfolio, up to par in order to get into a studio. But like, read that, and that'll help too. Just know that you're gonna have to do a lot of studying outside of your classes. Like, think of each class as an introduction into what it's for. Like, you're gonna take a figure drawing class, and it's gonna be for a semester, and then you're gonna move on to like, life painting or something. Well, that doesn't mean that you stop figure drawing. You keep doing it until you get really good. And that was something that I didn't do while I was there, and then I had to do a lot of catch up, and that was after I graduated. And I found out the hard way because I graduated and then realized, oh, I can't get a job in animation. So if you go into Long Beach knowing what you're gonna get out of it, then I think you'll be way more prepared. I don't know what you think, Dylan.
Yeah, like have a goal of try to figure out what kind of jobs you would actually be doing.
Okay.
From what I'm hearing, like you're not sure, which is okay, and it's better to go to a cheaper school than a more expensive school when you don't really know what you want to do, right? So you don't end up wasting a lot of money and a lot of time.
Yeah.
Just try to find out more about the industry, more about which kind of jobs are available. Like right now I work in advertising. I sketch concepts from movie posters. I didn't know about that when I was going to school. I always thought it was just concept art or like fine art. I didn't know that there's all these other kinds of jobs. So yeah, finding out about what job is available and what it takes to get there, and then when you look at your school, think about like what can they offer in terms of like classes and the things they're going to teach you to build that portfolio that you need to go get the job. And I mean, I went to Cal State Long Beach. I don't regret it, but it definitely wasn't enough. But that didn't mean it didn't give me anything, right? Like I got what I wanted from there, but I needed more. So I had to do a lot of studying on my own time outside of school. So just be prepared for that. And at this point, any school, like Art Center has the same problem right now. Is like school is not enough because other people are taking other classes on top of their schooling.
And for Long Beach too, specifically, that school, their editorial illustration program is like stellar. So if that's what you're trying to get into possibly, then that's the right school for it. And I can attest to that because when I graduated, even though I wasn't able to get into the animation industry, I started getting editorial jobs, and I was doing stuff for like Simon & Schuster and Playboy and Airbnb and stuff. And so they do prepare you really well, because my homework at Long Beach was exactly like my jobs that I got in editorial. So it really depends on.
But they have pre-production now, they didn't have that when we were there.
They actually added that, I feel like, because we made such a big deal.
I just went back to look at the list of classes again, and it's pretty much the same classes. They just have like a new track, and they like reorganize things and call it differently. So it's still not enough, I think.
But
so
definitely, I don't think it's a bad idea to go there. Just
if money is concerned, it's better than a lot of other state schools. for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's, you know, if you're comparing it to like Art Center, which is like $250,000 or something, like that's a whole different conversation.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Criolla.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so this is I
So-
think we all can relate to this. Wait, are you okay?
It's 8 right now, so it's been an hour, but I'm down to stay longer. So if anybody wants to leave, that's fine. But I'll be here.
Yeah, I don't
Y'all
mind
can't
going
leave.
longer.
Yeah, I mean we're
I'm
gonna.
staying here.
I'll go till 9 because we're doing game night at 9.
We'll be here
stay.
anyway.
I'll stay.
I'm down too.
Cool.
I'm down.
All right, Kat asks, did any of you have a major period of imposter syndrome, and how did you eventually overcome this? I have this to this day.
Yeah,
same.
it doesn't go away. Sorry, just get used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
At least you know what it is, right? You're recognizing what it is, so just know it's just there and it doesn't go away, and it's not real.
And if someone tells you that they don't feel it, they're lying. They're just
Or-
trying to posture.
I mean, some people don't feel it, or they say they don't, and I look at their work and they're not very good. So it's like they think they're better than they actually are, right? So that's not good,
Okay, I wasn't trying to go there.
right?
Dylan's hot take.
But yes, everyone goes through it. Everyone's been through it, and they'll continue to go through it because at no point will you ever be satisfied. Because there's always room for better, for more, and there's always people out there who are going to show you better, more to you based on where you are at right now. So, like, it's kind of like a red herring to chase. Like, people always want to solve this sort of mental blockage. Like, they're always like, oh, how do I just stop this from happening? You can't. You can't stop burnout from happening. You can't stop imposter syndrome from happening. You just have to learn how to get through it so that you come out of it with less scars. Every time you go through it and you do it in a healthy way, the easier it gets to kind of just mitigate it until the moment you feel like at a low, it's not the worst it could possibly be. That's how you kind of mitigate just like the general emotional roller coaster of art, because it's so personal, because it's so obvious, like your skill is what you make. You kind of just have to learn to live with it, to accept it even, and to not shame yourself for feeling the way that you do. Because if it's inevitable, you might as well learn how to make it easier for yourself.
Right. Okay. We do have a person who wants to ask a question over the mic. Probably in a minute. Dang, the whole squad is here.
It's a different
What
cat
up,
than
cat?
last time. There was another cat earlier.
It's another cat? Yeah, we got two cats.
Hi,
One with-
hello. Can you hear me?
Hi, cat.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you so much, guys, for doing this. It's pretty nice to hear like all of your answers to everybody's questions. I would also like to ask a question, please.
Yeah.
It's related to studying. When it comes to doing your own sort of expression, I find that, you know, everybody tells you, oh, you have to know the fundamentals. You have to like try to learn the rules, what to do, what not to do, and all of these things. And now I am finding myself at a point where I am so scared that I don't know everything I need to know in order to do something, that it sort of stops me from actually being creative somehow. I'm not sure if that sort of explains it. Like, I am trying to learn and I do the homework and I buy tutorials and I sort of try to follow everything. But then when I try to apply all of these things that I have in my brain into something that comes out of, you know, my own personal sort of creativity, I am like stuck.
Your paralysis by overanalysis, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
If you have any advice, appreciate it.
Do you guys have any advice?
Okay, honestly, I feel like this has happened to me in the past year, where, you know, it's like, okay, you're working on the fundamentals so much that and like just really trying to make your skill higher and higher and higher, that when I was starting like one of my projects, or even there was one time where I was working on professional work, and I was like, man, I just cannot seem to get this idea down. Like I can't. Yeah, I try and draw, and I'm drawing this like box, and I'm trying to figure out like how to like concept these out. I'm trying flat views. I'm trying. Nothing was working, and for me, I was like, I have these like little scribble drawings that I like to do. They're really bad, silly, but playful drawings.
We talk about Gregory.
It's called like I call them Gregory, and they're just really like, bad drawings. And it's kind of what I do to get out of my own head, and just do whatever. I just start putting super saturated colors on like the canvas, and like just do whatever I need to get out, and like just a whole nother realm, like the opposite of what I've been taught. And I actually did it for work at Riot, and I was like, man, should I show this to them? It really helped me work out these designs and get this to like a good level. And I asked my coworker, I was like, should I show these? And she was like, yeah, do it. They look awesome. They're so fun. And I showed them, and they loved it. And it was so much better than like the stuff I had been showing them. So sometimes I feel like for me, like you just gotta like to be able to get out of your own head. Sometimes you just need to do something a little wild, or do something that you haven't done before, or try a different outlet of something where it's like you don't care so much about the design or how it's looking technically. You just like explore the idea in whatever way you want, right? And I kind of got this idea from my friend Jeff, who does like a lot of character stuff, because a lot of his early sketches, they were just scribbles, and they looked like nothing, but they are so charming. He would start pulling out crayons, or he would start pulling out like pastels with like paint, and just start doing mixed mediums, because this is something that like you wouldn't expect when you look at his character stuff. But when you look at this, he just has that freedom, right? To really do whatever you want, and he doesn't care. And I think that helped him, so I tried it out a bit, and it worked for me. So for me, it's like just nice having an outlet where you're just not giving a shit, right? And not caring about what's coming on the page, and really just trying to express yourself freely. But that's what I do sometimes. But yeah.
Okay, I'll jump in a little bit.
That sounds like a very interesting idea. I've never tried anything like that before. I will definitely give it a try. Thank you.
So I'll add on to this really quickly. Like, what's happening is when you are kind of presented with all these challenges and like all the rules and tutorials and all this stuff that you're talking about, right? Like, you're getting nervous, you're getting anxious and stressed out because the task at hand is too difficult for you to handle.
Too
right?
in your head.
It's and so your brain kind of goes into this like fight or flight mode, right? The amygdala is activated, and when you're in this stage, it's a different part of the brain that's being used than the part that's used for creativity. So when you're stressed, it's really hard to be creative, because like being creative is about like letting go and becoming vulnerable, right? Because you're trying to find different ideas, things you've never done before. Like, you can't really go into that state of mind when you're stressed out, right? And a lot of times what happens with a lot of these exercises and classes and rules and all of this stuff, it's too much responsibility. The task is too difficult for you, and you're having anxiety pretty much, right? And so it's hard for you to come up with stuff. It's hard for you to be free. And I'd say, in order, either you place yourself into a more comfortable environment, which is kind of what Alex is saying, right? These are just low pressure drawings that he's doing. He knows that there's, nothing's gonna go wrong when he's just doing these doodles, because nobody's gonna see them and it's just silly, right? So he's placing himself into a more comfortable environment. Or you can take it the other way, which is become more comfortable doing the difficult task, which is going to require a lot of repetition. And that's why, like, the more you do something, like, this is how improvement happens. It doesn't happen by being taught some rules and then you just get better right away, right? You gotta kind of practice, and the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. Not that you're learning new things, you're just becoming more comfortable with the things that you're taught, right? And after a while, you're no longer stressed doing this same exercise that used to be too hard for you. And that's when you'll start to see improvement, and that's when you start to be able to be more creative. So yeah, you can kind of attack it both ways. Just one way is don't worry that you're not performing well, just keep going and it'll get better. And the other way is, you know, take a break, go do something that's more relaxing so that you can kind of open up your brain a little bit.
Thank you so much. That's really good advice. I am trying to go for like hikes and stuff like that to sort of
lowering the task might help. Have you guys ever seen, there's like this illustration of like 2 ladders going up to the sky, and it's like the little caption is like the importance of taking small steps. And like on one ladder the steps are too high and you can't even reach the first step, right? And on the second ladder the steps are closer together, so it's easier for you to keep climbing up. So maybe, yeah, just if it's too hard, break it down into smaller steps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kat.
Thank you. Have a nice evening, everybody.
Thank you,
You too,
Kat.
Kat.
You too.
Peace.
Oh, there's another cat. Uh-oh.
There is a-
The cats are coming out.
Oh my lord. Hold up. Can I disconnect?
I don't know how to do that.
I'm gonna try. If the Discord goes to shit, it's my fault. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Ooh.
Oh, you found it, Chelsea. That's a good illustration. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the one that you were talking about. Tom.
Yeah.
CATT. Cat.
Hello.
Wow.
Oh, we know
Hello.
Kat.
See it.
This is the Kat we know.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Cat.
What's
I'm
up?
Kat with a C and 2 T's. I actually have a question because I'm at a crossroads right now. It's also pretty specific, so apologies in advance. But
No worries.
I am deciding between a mentorship that I just got through Women in Animation and a background design class, and I'm just trying to think from your guys' perspective, how do you guys go about making a decision when you're at these crossroads? Like for example, like this mentorship, I've never done a mentorship before, and I have, I guess, slight reservations of what that's gonna look like, but I've done like a bunch of classes, so I'm kind of, I don't know. At the same time, I want to do this background design class, but this mentorship is a risk. So, just kind of curious what your guys' thoughts are on this.
Why can't you do both? Is it a time?
It's on the same day at the same time.
Oh, wow.
It would have
That
to
sucks.
be one or the other. Yeah, it's super sad. Otherwise, I'd be like, yeah, let's try it. No.
Are they offering the background class again, or is this like the only time you can take it?
There probably is, but it's the first time it has been offered. It's actually through Warrior Painters. So
Is it the
it's-
Arthur Loftus one?
No, it's Nikita's and Linda's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Nikita's and Linda's they're both on Sundays. So, and I'm not sure. I don't know. I just know.
Who's the mentorship with?
Yeah, who's the mentorship with?
It's with Vicky Pui. She's, I guess, a concept artist from Marvel.
Who out of those people are you emulating more? Like, who is doing kind of what you want to do more?
Yeah, I guess because Nikita and Linda are both at Titmouse, or maybe doing just like actual background design in TV. I don't know if feature film is something I ever want to do, but I can't say no. and I also can't say no because I've never really been focused on biz dev either. So, and she's more visual development. So, yeah, this is kind of questions, but the people within the mentorship are a mix of biz dev and background design. So it's, I don't know. That's where I'm at.
As someone that did a mentorship, like Dylan and I, we ran a few terms of our mentorship. That's how we started this whole server. It was easier to mentor the people that had a direction of like where they wanted to go with their work. I don't know, Dylan can jump in here on this.
That's so hard for
Like,
me because
it's-
I'm like, I don't know what you want to do. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't even know who these artists are, so I don't
Oh,
have
I
any.
see.
I don't have any input.
I definitely do want to do background design and layout for TV. Like that is
Okay.
something I do want to do. I am not sure if I want to do visual development, but for definitely I do want to be in background design and layout.
I
at least
don't think
so.
I don't think that there's a wrong answer, if that makes you feel any better.
Yeah, you make your answer right.
Yeah, like basically just kind of, I mean, usually like I say just like pick something and just like go for it.
Yeah.
It's yeah, and see that's hard because I don't think it's one of those things that like nobody can really tell you what to do because it's you and you know yourself better than anyone. I think you'd probably benefit from either one. I mean, background design is biz dev, so I mean, I do think it's good to specialize, but it is good to know kind of the whole, like everything, like all of biz dev. It's really helpful just because like if you only kind of know your little niche thing and you aren't aware fully how to do the other things, then it's like you're gonna have a harder time like helping move the production along, because like that's another thing is I always tell people like really understand the pipeline of what you're getting into also.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I think from what I know about the warrior painters and talking to Angela, like I'm pretty positive that those classes are going to be like repeating. But I think, I don't know, I think you should go with your gut. I don't know if you have a gut feeling on one of them.
I mean, I think everything is telling me to just give a shot at this mentorship, just like as what you said. Like, it's nice to know a little bit more about VizDev as a whole rather than just being, you know, tied into this very, very specific niche within VizDev.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Personally, I love, like, I really did love doing the mentorship that we did. Like, it's, I mean, you get, like, so much help on so many different levels. At least for the one that we did, it's like we really delved into, like, our students, like, personal lives and, like, how to help them specifically, which, like, might be really beneficial if this mentorship does that. If, you know, they can really look at your schedule and be like, okay, this is how you should go about doing this because you have this happening in your life right now, or, and that might be more beneficial than just like, you know, another class.
Yeah. No, that's super helpful because I definitely was struggling with at what point is it right to do like a mentorship, you know, like what point in your, you know, I guess artistic career or artistic path, like is it right to do a mentorship? So that definitely makes sense. Thanks,
Or
guys.
you can try to get a job and they'll pay you to mentor you.
Yeah, I'd say mentorships are good if you have very specific questions that can't be answered in a class setting because classes are more than just you as a student. They're about everyone in the class. So those are really good for if you're just kind of approaching a big topic and you want to see a teacher's like curriculum that they've crafted to help you understand the subject. But if you kind of get the subject and you've got really specific questions and you're willing to apply yourself to something, I think mentorships offer a lot more value just on that basis because, you know, you get that one-on-one with that person. So I think it really depends on what you need right now in your development to achieve your own goals. If you feel like this class gives you a better overview of everything because you're still kind of really early on in diving into this direction, then go for the class. You can always take the mentorship later with someone who might be, you know, more relevant if this mentor is not necessarily in the right camp that you're looking for. But I generally think that mentorships are a lot more valuable because as someone who has had to teach before, it is extremely difficult to try and may like make a class useful to everyone, which is why you usually leave them with a couple questions unanswered that mentors could easily help you answer within like an hour's worth of talking. So it really does depend on where you're at right now and what you think is more valuable to you. Otherwise, not really a wrong choice here, because both of these things would probably happen again.
Is the class recorded?
Yeah, but I think
Just sign up for both and just watch the recording later.
I encourage you to participate. Like, it's not. I mean, I definitely have considered this.
Yeah.
Oh, I could just, watch the recording. It's totally fine. But I think Warrior Painters has that mentality of like, oh, you show up. It's like a job, I guess. I don't know. That's how Angela's class is, I feel. So I feel I should that out of other classes as well. I don't think I can cheat it. I think I'd do one or the other. Is my guess. But thank you so much. No, this definitely helps. And
Non-answer. Sorry, we didn't help.
No, it's hard. No, I think that is at least giving me enough tools to consider. So thank you.
Thank you, Kat. With
Thanks,
two
Kat.
T's.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. There was one. Are we good on time right now?
Yeah.
We chilling?
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right,
we're
sweet.
chilling.
Okay, so there's a person. Okay, Zav asked, as someone in their final year of college, seeing all the senior art positions can be pretty daunting with minimal work experience. Where/what would you recommend in terms of looking for work fresh out of school? I guess like entry-level jobs.
Those time requirements are often a formality, except for like super structured places like EA and Ubisoft. So they do that to kind of scare off people that are kind of just jumping in without any experience. But even if you don't have actual legitimate games experience, like some of them are like, you have to have shipped a game, a AAA game, in like the last, 3 years or so. It's complete BS. They don't really care. At least the team doesn't. A lot of them will kind of look at your portfolio for what it is, and you could be right out of college and get a senior position based on your portfolio. For a lot of at least for games, I don't know about animation, but at least for games, a lot of them don't care. The main point about having a resume that has a bunch of places is like you just get your interview is just basically like, do you know this person? Oh yeah, I worked with him like 5 years ago. Like that's what it ends up being. But you don't really actually need games experience to apply for higher level positions if your portfolio can make the cut. That's how games works.
Yeah, I don't think there is a entry-level job. It's just a job or no job.
I think the only entry level thing that I would say that I know of is like an internship or a trainee position, at least in animation. Those are really good to get into if you want to get in and have your hand held. But the thing that sucks about those is that they'll start you on a really low pay, and then if you don't move around and jump around to other studios, you'll stay on that low pay. And I mean, it depends on how much pay you want to get, but that's one thing that I've noticed with those. But it's a really good way of getting a mentor within the studio if you can land one of those.
Yeah, also one thing that I've kind of experienced, because I've been a student the past 4 years and stuff, so I've kind of been going through that job search and landing some jobs and stuff, is that studios don't post freelance positions online, right? So it's if you're making yourself available or just reaching out to recruiters and stuff, and if you're kind of noticeable, they'll put you on a list. And if you're yeah, I'm available for any freelance or full-time opportunities you guys have, they may be keeping you in mind. So when they need a freelancer, if you're newer, they're more likely to kind of take a chance on you, because it's oh, we're just going to contract them for a month, and if it works out, then maybe we'll contract them again, or maybe we'll put them on a full-time, or maybe we'll just keep them in mind for another project, So but I know that chances were kind of taken on me at the beginning because it was just like a freelance contract, right? So it wasn't as much of a commitment from the studio's end. But yeah, so I suggest that if you're kind of looking to start, like, that's just another outlet of finding a job, right? That not many people really take advantage of. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just check something real quick. He says, yeah, sweet. Thank you guys so much for touching on that. Tony asks, with COVID-19 changing the face of many job markets, are companies more willing to hire outside of state now in your experience?
Yes.
Is it still very necessary to live in the same area?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
right now everybody's hiring everybody everywhere.
Remote is king. Companies are realizing.
Yeah, take advantage of it
Get an
now.
office space. They are a lot more willing to pay you a full-time wage for working remotely, because now their full-time employees are realizing that they don't want to go back to the office. It's great. It's the time now to apply for a studio that's a couple states away in a different country, because a lot of them are understaffed. Games in specific are in a hiring phase right now because they laid off a bunch of people when COVID started, and then they realized games aren't nearly as effective, and so now they're understaffed. So yes, it's been pretty interesting actually seeing how many companies are realizing that that you can have people working from home and it actually can still happen. Things can still happen.
There's a catch with the animation industry because
Yeah, I thought about mentioning
you have
that,
to
but I
be
didn't
in
know
the
if I
guild.
should.
And the animation guild requires that you live in the LA County. But
Yeah.
they can still hire freelancers. They can still, and there's a lot of other smaller studios that are not part of the animation guild. So, yeah, it's definitely better now than ever to work remote.
Shoot. Okay. Let me check some else. Tony says, that's fantastic to hear. Okay. Agriona asks, do you have advice for how to incorporate a personal voice into your portfolio work?
Oh boy, you tell me when you figure that out. I need that.
I think for me, what helped was I think developing your style, and in that way, it helped me by having like a story in mind. For example, like if you have a portfolio project and you have like maybe a story in the back of your mind that you've been wanting to do for a while, pursuing something like that would help you with originality. Of course, also once you understand your foundations, developing your style will become kind of a lot easier. I think for me, the way I developed my style was I looked at like a lot of different artists, and I kind of found what I liked about them. Like for example, I really look up to Peter Chan, or I think Pixel P Chan on Instagram. I really liked his color and his blocking, and I was also inspired by Tommy Kim, and the way
Love Tommy Kim.
Yes, he's so good.
Yeah.
The way he treats light, and how he handles warm and cool colors. So I kind of incorporated that, but into my personal project, and I think that really helped me kind of develop my own style and my own kind of sense of self as an artist.
Okay, we have somebody who would like to come on and ask a question on the mic. Klexos. Oh, he dipped. Oh wait, I'm gonna do it again one more time. Shoot.
Hello? Sorry,
Hi,
I left
Klexos.
trying to unmute myself. Which
Oh,
is
that's fine.
unfortunate.
How you doing?
That's a
Pretty
cute
good.
doggy.
How are you?
Oh, that's a cute
look at the
dog.
dog.
Oh, wow. Dylan and I are trying to get a dog right now, so we're like,
You want Jen. She's a nightmare.
Oh no!
Oh boy.
Wait, what?
She's so cute.
Anyways, I have a question about creating educational content, like to distribute online. It's something I want to get into. I don't know if it's gonna look like YouTube videos or Gumroad or stuff like that. I just want your guys' like hot tips on making that kind of content, on like any like platform specific stuff about Gumroad, how to distribute. Like, are people even going to be interested in your stuff if you don't have a big following online? Share your thoughts.
I think if the product is good, anybody will buy it. So
Yeah, I know several people that like grew their following just because they made easy, digestible content online. Like basic stuff like, here's how you articulate a finger. Here's how you draw noses from a different perspective. Like, people enjoy educational content, and there are different levels of degrees of complexity with education. So, finding your niche in that and just committing yourself to it. I think relatively people don't really care if you don't have like a history of social media and doing all this other stuff.
Yeah, you can even have like clickbait titles like 3 things, all you need is this. Those things work. Like, what's that dude's name? Who disses other people's art? Like, never do this.
Ethan,
yeah.
Oh.
Oh no.
Fixing
The legend.
Leonardo's trash art. Like, I mean, you don't need to go that far, but just being fun. There's a lot of people that they're not necessarily the best in the world, but they just have fun and good content. And I think that's important. I think people want to feel like they're connecting with the speaker and not just the tutorial. And I think that's really important.
Can I tie this back? I'm speaking a lot here, sorry, but this is similar to like getting a job. Like, people, there's the same question of like, do you need to have a lot of following online to get a job? And the answer is no. It's just, how good is your product, right? Like, think more about the receiving end of it. If whether it's a customer or an employer, think about what they're looking for, and if you're able to deliver that, don't worry about your following.
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
I'd buy your tutorials.
Thank you,
Sam.
Alex.
Guys, this is Sam Samantha. She's a rock star because she works at Rockstar Games. So she's amazing.
Oh,
Wow.
snap.
Alex and I
rock
went
star
to
in the
school
house.
together,
Yeah.
and yeah.
I'm sorry
I
about that.
dipped off the face of the earth. Moved to San Diego and lost contact with all of my friends in the art community. So trying to get back in.
Hey, we're all here on the internet now. This is where we live.
Yeah,
It's
on the
true.
computer screen.
Yep. Yes. It's crazy when you start working and then like your circle becomes your coworkers, and then it's just like your physical circle is just like tiny now, and you like don't know anybody else. So it's really great to hear you guys talk and get involved in the community and Lightbox. So
You're working on a tutorial right now, or?
teaching is something that I've always found really, fulfilling, and so I wanted to do it I wanted to start getting into it by making tutorials. Like, no one's gonna like hire me to teach a class anytime soon. But
You can teach our classes. Do you want to run the resolution art?
We
Discord
got some
and
plans.
Mentors. No, I'm just kidding.
You know what? Add me. I'm here. I'm available.
Yes.
And I love to talk about.
See that? Networking. Here we go.
Done.
It's happening. Caroline.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you, Klexos. Oh, she just dipped? Okay, thank you. Alright, we have Tuna Soup. Her name is Tina. I'm inviting her in for a question. Tuna Soup, where you at? Uno su.
She says, wait, how do I accept?
She said, how
Oh
do I
no!
accept?
Oh, there we go. There we go.
I'm here. Okay. I was panicking. Hi.
Tuna.
Hi. Thank you for having me up here.
Hell yeah.
I just wanted to ask, how do you guys deal with comparing yourself to other artists? I feel like, I don't know, I feel like this is a thing that maybe a lot of artists go through, especially since, you know, with social media, there's so many like great artists out there. I feel like they're getting younger every year. So, I don't know. This is a question I would always like to ask people because I feel like I've also like kind of gleaned some things, but I also love hearing about like how others feel about it. So yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I'm gonna tackle this goal for at the beginning.
Yeah.
But for me, I think for me it's just like every once in a while I'll just be like, man, like it's like everyone has their own timeline, and everybody kind of has their own art journey, and that's kind of always in the back of my head. Because I think a while ago my thoughts were pretty toxic. Like a couple of years ago, I was like, man, like if somebody's doing really well, why do I like feel kind of negative about that when I want to be happy for them? So I think for me, I just started practicing, especially just being happy for people and their art journeys was always really like, and starting to practice that like positive mindset when it came to other artists, it really influenced my mindset about my own like journey and being like, okay, yeah, like everybody's like art is at a different pace and everybody's kind of at us like, so everybody like what makes one artist better than another, like art is subjective at the same time, right? So it's like, okay, this artist may be doing this and then you may be doing this, right? So it's like you're doing your own thing, they're doing theirs, right? And you're working towards your goals, they're working theirs, you know? And I think that's always like reassuring for me, right? To know that like not everybody's art path and art journey looks the same, and just kind of reminding yourself of that every once in a while. Like that's like really good for me. Even the people that you look up to, right? You're gonna have a different route. So yeah, that's kind of my way. But yeah,
that's great advice.
That's totally true. I feel like yes, supporting your friends and recognizing their art journey, but I think also recognizing your art journey. Like for example, seeing what kind of art you did like a year ago, like versus now, and seeing kind of like how far you've come. It kind of like helps build your self-confidence, or saying like, wow, I really came so far. Like I started from here and now I'm here. So I think just reminding yourself that even though you may not be at the level where you want to be, you've already come so far, you know? And I think it's nice to recognize that though there's still like a journey ahead of you, like you're on the right path, you know? But yeah, just recognizing your self-confidence and how far you've come really helps.
It also helps to kind of disconnect the art from the artist. And this is like a nuclear option that I do sometimes. But like sometimes I'll just like leave the internet, like I'll shut it off and I will look at artists that are exclusively dead. Like they're just they're so long gone. They're dusty as hell. And I look at their art because at no point do I feel this pressure to like connect with them, because they're not like real to me, because I don't live in the same time as them. And so I'm able to kind of just focus on the art and be like, okay, so it's just me. Like it's these people don't, you know, their art is just here. It is what it is, and I have something I'm trying to accomplish. Or you know, you can take art from your favorite artist and just like print them out or put them on like a PureRef file or something and just like sit there and look at it, and don't look at it in the context of social media and the context of these people are real and they're doing their own thing or whatever. Because I think what makes it hurt the most is knowing that they're out there doing the same things that you're doing, or you know, working on their own art at the same time. And in this specific instance, in this timeline, they're just leagues ahead or in a different place than you are, that the fact that they can feel so close because of social media makes it harder to distance yourself from their journey and their, you know, whatever they're doing. And I have a really hard time forming those boundaries without forcing them. And so taking breaks from social media to kind of just really focus on artists that, you know, they don't invoke this sense of jealousy or this kind of sense of guilt. It's all about just, I have a goal, I have things I want to accomplish, the art that I'm looking at is there to accomplish that. It's not for me to just look at, to like ruminate on, which is why I go with the nuclear option. But you don't have to. You could just find art that you like, separate it from the artist, use it when you need to. I don't know, that might help if other things don't.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Thank you. And I like your idea of the nuclear option. It's like they're dead, and I don't want to deal with them right now.
I mean, exactly. Like they're dead. They can't do anything about it. So perfect.
Woohoo! Thank you.
Yeah, but you can try it.
I think it helps too to, when you do compare yourself to other artists, don't think of it in terms of like a linear path, right? Like now I don't really think of trying to be better anymore. I just think of being more effective, right?
That's something huge that I learned recently, actually.
Yeah, like the art that you see online, just because they're all on this same platform doesn't mean they're doing the same thing. You know, they have different jobs. And a lot of people who are getting a lot of likes, have a lot of followers online, they don't necessarily work in the same industry as something that you're trying to do. Some of them don't even have any jobs at all. I know a lot of people who have a big following that are struggling right
I specifically have had people with like 70,000 plus followers message me and say like, I'm freaked out because I can't get work. Like a follower count is very deceiving.
Yeah, so just be mindful of what you're looking at and just realizing that it's not just about, you know, the likes that you're seeing, or even if their art is better than yours, like better in what way, right? Like what kind of jobs are they working? What kind of jobs are you working? Like I'm not going to compare myself to somebody who's, you know, who's like the biggest, like everybody here has an art heroes, you know, like I'm obviously not as good as those people, but they can't do my job because I'm doing a very specific thing. So think of it in terms more of like what fits you and being more effective rather than being better than somebody.
Yeah.
And yeah, like Knight is saying, just know yourself. If you can't bring yourself into that mind state, just cut everything.
Yeah, like for me, I actually like, I love so many different styles that I get distracted because I want to try them all. So I would have to just shut off the internet for a reason, so I'm just not, my monkey brain isn't just ping-ponging off everywhere. It's a similar option of, yeah, like I just love everyone's style, so, and I want to try that out, and then I realize like I can't just focus, and I'm losing focus, so I would have to not even go on social media. I'll just like shut off social media for a very long time, and it gives me the opportunity to reconnect to the things that I personally like, because what I've learned from my career is the art community, we think that like everybody knows like concept art or really good paintings, but in the world, like we're such a small community, and the things that we make, a lot of times, I think the mistake that we make is that we tend to make art for other artists rather than like art for just people. And just because a painting is like really nicely rendered, or the design, the fidelity of the resolution, like all that stuff, it only matters to us. But to the general population, like they don't necessarily care about that stuff. An example is like the things that are trending the most is things like Rick and Morty. Like, not to say that those animations aren't great, like they're awesome, but that people like fun ideas. And people like to be able to relate to things. There's that one artist, I think her name is Fishball. She has a series called My Giant Nerd Boyfriend, and it's like the most relatable thing, right? And these types of things is what I try to think about more, rather than like oh, does my art look like that? So, yeah, that's just me.
Yeah,
Good
thank
stuff.
you. Yeah, I also really like Fishbowl. It's a very
Yeah.
good comic. Yeah, thank
she's
you guys so
hilarious.
much. She's so good. I need to catch up, but yeah. Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
everybody.
Thank you, Tuna.
Yeah.
Yee. Okay, let me check something real quick. It's 9:52. Electro
We got
Boogaloo.
10 minutes.
I saw Justin had a question, but he's gone. I don't
Yeah,
know.
Justin peaced out. He said, y'all taking too
Can we
long.
just force him back?
You know what? I think I will. Let me, I see you. I messaged him. He didn't respond to me. Oh, well.
That's okay.
Let me take one more question. And then I want to maybe open up a discussion or something. Let me see here. Okay, so there is a one of the questions that I had is I wanted to know what artists' thoughts were on this topic, and it's that the topic of AI and how they're taking over jobs, and what does that mean for the future for artists. So are you guys worried or looking forward to the future of AI being incorporated into art, or are you guys kind of worried about that, or what are your thoughts?
Just from a games perspective, the games as they are not they are so much more expensive to make than they actually cost. And the only reason why they don't cost nearly as much, and this is still the millions of dollars, is because game devs are willing to overwork to crunch out the project. It's just like a part of the culture. And so in instances where you kind of need extra workload and you need more hands on deck, AI being able to aid rigging and animation, being able to automate a lot of these menial tasks that a person would have to spend an hour of their day just to do on one task, is really good. Because not only will that mean that people working in a studio won't have to spend the tech artist at my company, he does this of his own free will, but I know he does it because he's done it his entire career. He works until midnight every single day, because his tasks are just so long. So I think in that regard, AI is a really exciting thing for them, specifically this intersection of tech and art. I've had a lot of people tell me that AI is going to take over concept. It's not. Computers are stupid. They're not going to be able to crunch out that super wicked, iconic, just straight up dumbass design from a JRPG that you really like. They're not going to be able to do that. Your artists are still going to be around, but in the cases where you need a bunch of hands working on something, I think that could really be really good.
It's just an aid, right? Just a tool that'll help you. And it's just like all the other tools. People were doing things by hand before computers, and we were using Photoshop, and then 3D came along, and there's always a new thing coming up. And
right.
I do worry about having to learn it, but it's just another thing. We've gone through this before. People have adapted. It's all fine, and it's all gonna help if you're willing to accept it.
Yeah, it makes if anything, these tools make it easier on the artist to create. But on a different note, I want to play devil's advocate. Is there are some AI that learns, and when AI gets to the point where it can have consciousness, right, where to distinguish the person from AI is really hard to do, and they're able to make paintings, that is very likely a possibility too. But for me, I'm not worried so much about it, because as human beings, we tend to connect with other human beings, and our experiences are solely based on the things that we relate to is based on other people's experiences too. So the relatability comes into this, right? So I don't think that an AI is able to replicate, like I'm half Korean, is able to replicate like the sense and the feeling of me going to my Korean grandmother's house and like getting the all the Asian products that are just stacked on the wall, and like you open it and like things that are that's supposed to be the thing that's inside is not even there, or like the smell of like fermented kimchi. Like, how does an AI replicate that? And I think as human beings, experiences is what kind of keeps us keeps things relatable. Yeah, that AI can't produce. Even though like there are some AI right now that can replicate old traditional paintings and just make their own paintings. But as humans, like we tend to connect with like other humans and their experiences. So I'm not worried about it. I know it's a big topic right now, but I'm just excited to see what the future holds. Okay, let's see. I think there's always discussion around technological improvement. Same question came up when we saw nanite technology being able to port photogrammetry straight into a game. Did this mean 3D artists are obsolete? The thing is, new technology just makes new problems elsewhere, but still need human brains to solve. Yeah, creativity, experiences. So yeah, it is now 8:58. Anybody have any final questions or things that we should cover?
Morsh, thank you for helping out. This is
Hey man.
Yeah, you've been great.
I really enjoyed this. This was a
really
lot of
good
fun.
at this.
Yeah,
Thank
dude.
you, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I just love hanging out with folks. All I care about is just interacting with the community.